at what we found. It's a big sound in a small town. Far from the bright lights, they're making music every night. Hear what is all around. It's a big sound in a small town. It's a big sound in a small town. It's a big sound in a small town.
Hi, and welcome to Big Sound Small Town. I'm your host, Sandy Carlton, and this is a podcast about the lives and stories of the musicians, writers, artists, and their associates that have their roots in the small towns and communities across America. If you like what you hear, tell somebody. Enjoy.
When that ring slipped off my finger into a stranger's hand, you said, "What happened to forever?" As your eyes were flashing green, said, "I thought I told you, baby, I just don't know what that means. Even though I love you still, you son of a bitch, I probably always will." But all those nights
Hi, I'm Amanda Ann Platt. I'm the singer-songwriter behind the band the Honeycutters, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina.
Well, how are things in Asheville?
Well, I haven't been going out that much the past years.
Yeah, no one has been.
Yeah, they're building a lot of hotels, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I have a grandson who plays soccer at University of North Carolina at Asheville, and the season just ended, but I finally got to go to a game in person rather than watch it on TV. So that was nice.
Excellent. That is great.
Man, I could tell Asheville is not really open a whole lot. I mean, it's not opened back very much, has it?
Yeah, well, I think it's starting to.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
Are you working yet? I mean, do you have jobs lined up?
We do have some stuff lined up. Matt Smith, who plays pedal steel with the band, he does a songwriter night at Highland Brewing that just started back up, and so I did that with him last week, and that was kind of the first step out the door. And we're playing Skunk Fest in Greer.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
in
one
May.
of my favorites.
It's a great festival. Yeah, I think that'll be fun. And we got some other stuff lined up for the summer.
That's good. I mean, I play too, and we're working back towards making it happen again. Different type of venues really at the moment, but I hope it opens back up. It'd be nice to actually play music again.
Right. Well, I wonder, people say, well, this is going to change things. And I mean, obviously none of us can see into the future, but I hope it won't, put too permanent of a scar on the music industry.
I think everybody enjoyed a little bit of the time off. But that being said, I think everybody's ready to go back to work too,
Well, we said that, when everything first kind of shut down, my husband and I were obviously, we were scared and worried about our families and all that. But we were also like, well, hey, we wouldn't, our daughter at that point was 5 months old.
Right.
Or, just about 6 months old. And we wouldn't have been able to enjoy sort of the time at home and the regular schedule that we have. I mean, that being said, about 9 months into it, I was,
oh yeah,
I was like, let me out.
I was beginning to wonder if I even had any social skills left after, just like, I don't know how to do this anymore. So actually, though, the pandemic has been good for the podcast because people have had time to listen, and it has exploded. And so I'm blessed with that, but I do kind of miss some of the, I'm back to doing live interviews, but most of them have been remote during this time. So
yeah, we've all learned what Zoom was. I'd never heard of it before.
Me either. And I'll be so glad when I don't have to do a Zoom thing again, and I'll be so glad when I don't have to live stream something. The results are all over the place.
Yeah. I
mean,
I've been doing a weekly live stream that, just from my very, very low tech, and I've been enjoying that. And there's a few people that tune in every week, but it's not the same.
No, it's not. I mean, I've done them and been a part of them, and it was like, in a kind of way, it's fun, but I'll be glad for not to have to do that anymore. Yeah, and I've seen them, and some are pretty good. So it basically comes down, I think, to your Wi-Fi connection.
That's true. Yeah.
And so we have a local place that let people play during the pandemic, and the stuff that he streamed live from there is just absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
It's so I mean, it's been a little bit of everything. All right, I'm just butting myself all over your story, so go ahead and start it at whichever end you want, where you're at now or where it all began is good with me.
Okay, well, let me think. I mean, I guess I'll start where it all began. Maybe I'll say a little bit about where I'm at now. Just
okay.
if people don't know me at all.
Yeah, let's do that. This is true.
I have a band called the Honeycutters, or now we use my name, so it's Amanda Ann Platt and the Honeycutters.
Right.
And we're based out of Asheville, North Carolina, and we in normal circumstances we tour nationally, internationally. We've been doing it about 15 years now.
Right.
And we've gotten some really great opportunities. We've played with a lot of my musical heroes. We toured with Billy Joe Shaver and Amy Ray. Yeah, and
are you on organic still?
We are. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We're currently releasing what is our 6th studio
Right.
album, and it's actually a double studio album, and we're releasing it sort of in pieces. So there's a whole.
Well, that is the going thing these days. We're back to almost a 45 market.
Right. We kind of just latched onto that idea, so we're doing like an A side and a B side each month.
Oh, that's great.
One from the one side of the album and one from the other side. So, we're in it. We're doing it. We're, we're not rock stars, but we're working musicians.
Sure. And that is kind of the premise of this is. It is just my belief that the stars aren't really the best musicians that are in America these days. It's the people who are working and playing the music every day at a different level. The talent is just fabulous. So,
well, thanks. Well, it's interesting to being in the music industry and just sort of watching the way things work, and I think certainly talent plays a big part in it, but there is just a lot of circumstance.
There is, and there's a lot of circumstance, a lot of actually it's way more political than people who aren't involved in the music ever realize how much it is, so much. But yeah, I've done it at about every level you can, and certainly the higher end is better, but as far as accommodations go and stuff, it's easier to fly. It's easier to not have to tune your own guitars. Yeah.
Oh man, I've never had anyone tune. Well, that's not true. Sometimes my bass player will tune my guitar for me just because I'm usually out of tune. So.
I think as a musician, the greatest perk I've ever seen is having a guitar tech. That is so wonderful.
Yeah, that.
I don't even have to change my own strings. What about that? But
that is fantastic.
no, I'm back to the level where I have to change my own strings now.
It's an art. Well, you get all perspectives.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Oh Lord, I've been on both sides a lot. So. Did you know you were going to be a musician, or did that just happen?
I didn't really. I have a musical family. My older brother's a musician, professional musician as well. My dad has, played music professionally. He also, was an attorney for most of his working years. But, there's a lot of music in my house growing up, and we listened to a lot of music, and I was encouraged certainly to be musical, and I think I found just a roundabout way to it. I played the flute when I was little, but I didn't, I just read sheet music, and I'd say I never excelled at that. It was
that's not a part of your show these days.
No, sometimes we talk about it, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Jethro Tull type thing.
Right, go Marshall Tucker.
Marshall Tucker. Yeah, we're in the South. Let's say Marshall Tucker. Yeah.
So yeah, and then I did take some guitar lessons when I was in high school, and I wanted to be like in a band. My brother was always in bands, so I was looking up to him and wanting to sort of chase in his footsteps and all that. And I just couldn't, I couldn't focus on it. There was nothing that really made me commit to it.
Was there even an opportunity for a female to be in a band then?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I don't know that anyone was like looking to hire me in their
Right,
band, but I could have started one with my friends.
Right. Yeah. Got you. Yeah.
And so then I went to college briefly, and while at college, I decided to buy a banjo. It was kind of a whim. This is upstate New York. I didn't really know anybody that played the banjo at the time, and
Right.
I had just kind of gotten, like, growing up, I heard a lot of bluegrass and country music, and but then I kind of rebelled against that in my teens, and I was really into more like punk and grunge.
Right.
And so when I went away from home, I don't know if it was maybe just kind of a homesickness or just coming of age thing, but I really found myself getting back to, well, my roots, so to speak, just, kind of the music that I heard as a child, and getting really into old time music and
so you were going
bluegrass and country.
Were you going at the clawhammer angle on the banjo?
Yeah, I didn't even know,
Right.
I bought the thing and I tried to kind of teach myself a little bit, and then I ended up taking lessons with a woman in Saratoga Springs, New York, Trish Miller, who she actually used to be one of the green grass cloggers.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and she was teaching me clawhammer, and I would say I never excelled at that either, but I sort of got to a point I knew some chords, and that was sort of just a jumping off point for me to start writing songs. And once I was writing songs, then I had a reason to strengthen my playing so that I could accompany myself. So yeah, that was kind of sort of the beginning, I think, of my I used to make little poems and stuff when I was growing up, but I think probably when I was around 18 or 19, that was when I really
started writing.
Yeah.
How early did you know you could sing? Or did you always know that?
I didn't really.
Really?
I used to try out for musicals sometimes, and I never got cast as. Sometimes I got a singing part, but I think I always thought maybe I could sing, and I took a few voice lessons on and off. Mostly jazz voice lessons. I'm not really sure why I fell into that, but and I was encouraged. Nobody ever told me, oh, you can't sing, but I think I didn't really find my voice until I sort of started writing my own songs, and I think I was still kind of in that mindset of wanting to either be a punk sort of screamer or an opera singer. I couldn't wrap my head around just sort of, because the way that I sing is not, I'm not really trained in any way. I've had some lessons, but I wouldn't say I retained a lot.
Well, I'm telling you, it's a fine voice. Your voice is one of my favorites.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's just, also it's a happy voice. Even when you sing a song that's kind of depressing, it kind of lifts my spirit the minute I hear your voice. It's like, yeah, I know this is a sad song, but I already feel better, even though the song's going toward not the greatest of places, it's a really radio ready, very pleasing, particularly for what you do. You've chosen a good path for your voice.
Well, thank you. And I wonder if maybe that's just my voice chose the path. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
They fit the songs you do really well in the style of music you're doing. So
well, thank you.
I'm always baffled at how that comes around, about how much of it you choose and how much of it chooses you.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I didn't, even after, I got encouragement along the way. I'll say one thing about myself. I'm not the most confident person in the world. So if I don't get positive reinforcement, I'm maybe too quick to give something up, I think that's maybe a flaw of mine. So I did get positive reinforcement going to open mics, and, people said, hey, I like that song you wrote, or hey, I like your voice. And it kind of encouraged me to keep going until I did get stronger to a point where I felt like, okay, I can do this, I am doing this. And I always joke, I think I was, I had been touring and playing music professionally for 6 years before I was like, I think I'm a musician. I think that's what I'm doing with my life.
That's funny. It's like, oh, well, maybe this is what I do. Well, it's, people and I know a lot of my listeners do not understand how hard a solo type deal when you're a songwriter is, and when you write songs, almost any negative said about the song almost just takes the whole belief out of the song. It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think we're a fragile bunch.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'll even run a song past my wife, and she's not gushing over it. It's like, God, am I to the age where I can't even write one anymore? It's I don't know. It's a fragile thing. Or you do, and then I'm sure you've been through this part. You go out, you do your songs, and you realize nobody's listening, really. I could sing anything, and nobody's gonna. I could make it up as I go. Nobody's paying attention.
Yeah. No, it's true. We've been so lucky, and we're so grateful that we get to play a lot of little listening rooms.
Listening rooms
days,
are the best, no doubt.
Yeah, but we've certainly played our share of bars where they have the TV on over our head.
Oh yeah, I do. You think people are looking
cheer
at
you?
Yeah.
Think right?
You think they're cheering for you or looking at you, and they're watching a football game? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So many times, all over the country.
but I think it's something you just have to go through and realize and keep believing in what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was just having a conversation with another songwriter friend of mine recently, and we were kind of both saying oh yeah, it is hard. It kind of beats you down, and you got to do it because you love it. And when we were both just remembering, it's like, well, we say that all the time, and it is true, and you got to keep reminding yourself. But it's still, I still find myself forgetting that advice. It's like I still have my moments where I'm like, oh God, I just wish that this one magazine would throw us a bone and review us, or this one something, or that we could play this one festival, and you get caught up in that stuff, and it can really weigh you down.
Well, and it's sometimes it's been humbling. I'll use me as an example. I went to Kerrville Folk Festival as a new folk, and realized that I thought I was really a good songwriter. And I really realized when I got there that maybe I wasn't. It made me up my game. It made me work harder on my words. And, people in Texas, they really love songwriters, and that they just hate you they'll still clap for you. They just go berserk if they love you. But, and that's not the kind of reception you get everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
But sometimes you have to re-examine where you are as a songwriter, I think.
That's absolutely true, and I think that's really good advice that again, I need to remind myself of sometimes. Just I think that I can certainly just have a really self-deprecating streak where it's like you instead of being inspired by someone who's really good, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll never be that good.
Yeah.
Kind of
and I
shuffle
think,
my feet
I think
away.
The difference with me is I'm one of these guys who think, oh yeah, I can write a song as good as anybody, and oh wait, maybe I can't. So on my end, humbling has been a good thing for me.
Well, it's also it's all there. I think there are very few songs that everybody would agree is a great song.
True.
So it's kind of like it is so subjective, or is it objective?
It is. And you can find no matter how bad the music act is, you can find somebody that thinks that's the greatest thing in the world.
That's true. I mean, we've seen that.
I've learned that through this podcast. But also pockets too. It's funny how you have pockets in the country, or maybe even around the world, that really like what you're doing. And it'll be somewhere like Indiana. It's like, you just, you never know. Hey, people love being in Indiana, but.
Hey, I'm really famous in Indiana.
Exactly. I have this buddy, David Childers, and David's whole deal is they love me to death in Ohio. I go to Ohio every year, even though
They do love him in Ohio.
do.
I know that they do.
Yeah,
I've heard them talk about him in Ohio.
Yeah, they do. They think he's the greatest. I mean, David is. I like David. I think David is.
Oh yeah, no, he's fantastic.
But,
yeah.
Oh yeah, Ohio, man, they think he hung the moon.
Yeah.
So it's funny
It's
how
a funny thing.
It is a funny thing. So
Yeah.
do you remember putting together your first band?
Yeah. Well, okay. So my first band actually, so I was still living in New York, and I had been playing the banjo, and through Trish, my banjo teacher, I met these other girls who were playing like old time music. So it was, let's see, my friend Amy was playing guitar, my friend Katie was playing the fiddle, and then there were two other girls who were their friends who were like into singing harmony. So we kind of had a 5-piece of, mostly covers. I think I wrote a couple of songs for that group. And I don't even remember, we had so many different names, we kept changing it, and I wasn't the singer really. In fact, I'm not sure who was the main singer, but that was kind of when I really started to find my voice, because I had this feeling, I was like, I could sing in this band.
Right.
I could lead a song in this band if they'd only let me. And, and we were all friends. So it wasn't like they weren't letting me. It was just, I didn't really have the confidence yet. But, and then that kind of morphed into, my friend Katie, who played the fiddle, she and I, and then a bass player, who was sometimes my brother and then sometimes whoever we could get.
Oh, yeah.
We had a band called Bugs, Meanie and the Tigers. That was really like, I think that was the first band that we actually did regular gigs with.
Right. So do you remember your first record contract?
Well, sure. I mean, it was with Organic.
I guess you do. I mean, really,
wasn't that long ago.
Really, that was the first for you. That's such a fine company too. I mean, I like their acts. I have buddies here in town that are on them now, Acoustic Syndicate.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I know Aaron Burdett also.
Oh yeah, I love Aaron.
And I know people on Mountain Home too, which is kind of the same deal. So,
yeah, they've been so good to us. They're good people there. So.
I mean, I think it's great when you can be on one label and stay there. I mean.
Yeah, well, we put our first 2 albums out independently, right. And after the first one came out, we started working with Keith Case in Nashville.
Yeah.
I don't know if you.
I know Keith.
So he was.
Yeah, I know him.
He was our booking agent, and also did a lot of sort of managerial stuff for us for a while. And he was really.
How'd you get hooked up with Keith? I mean, that's a pretty big step.
It was. So it was actually funny. We played. We had a hookup to get into play Music City Roots.
Right.
So we did that, and after the show, Claire Armbruster and John Everhart, who were with Keith at the time, they approached me and they said, hey, we're with Keith Case, KCA artist or whatever, and we represent Shannon Whitworth, who's a wonderful, beautiful songwriter and a friend of ours, and they gave me their card, and in my mind, I was just thinking, do they want to put me in touch with Shannon? I mean, like, I know Shannon, I've met her. Like, it didn't occur to me, so I put the card in my wallet or my pocket or something. And at the time, my ex-boyfriend was sort of my partner in crime. He played guitar and sang harmony, and when we got home, like a week later, he found the card in my pocket, and he was like, why do you have Keith Case's card in your pocket? And I told him, and he could have killed me. He was like, well, that's great. That's like a big time booking agency.
Yeah, it is.
Like, and so he called them. Pete James is his name. So he called them, and he set up an appointment. We went down to Nashville and met with them, and it was really exciting. It was just kind of funny. It didn't occur to me that they wanted to talk to me about my music. I thought we were talking about Shannon.
And at that point, you weren't on a label either, were you?
No, we were independent, right. And so Keith was really trying to hook us up with a label. He was talking to a lot of different people about trying to sign us, and we ended up, we finished our second album and ended up sort of, which was crowdfunded, and we just ended up sort of putting it off releasing it because we were waiting for a label to pick it up, and no one was picking it up. So we ended up putting that one out independently. And then it was kind of the same dance with the third one. And in between number 2 and number 3, there was a lot going on. Pete and I broke up, and he ended up leaving the band. And so, there was some kind of awkward transitions anyway. But it was kind of the same thing, like we finished the third album, Me Oh My, and there was some purported interest from some labels, but nothing was coming to it. And finally I realized, so Ty Gilpin from Organic, I've known him a long time, and he's been a good friend to me in this town. And somebody suggested, they were like, well, why don't you see if Ty's label would sign you,
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, well, I mean, if you think they'd be into it, like, let's talk about it. So we ended up talking about it, and they were into it. And that was in 2014, I guess. Can that be right?
Yeah, that'd probably be right from what my research says. So yeah. So that's pretty cool then. And I guess at that point you were living in Asheville.
Yeah, I moved to Asheville in 2007.
Okay.
January 3rd, 2007.
Okay. Well, you are good at remembering dates.
Well, that one's an easy one for me to remember.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's I mean, it is really cool when you can get on a label that is right there at you too. I mean, it's just, as opposed to going back and forth to Nashville or going back and forth to wherever it is. And there again, I just like what they do. I like their artist.
Yeah, well, and it's been really wonderful, to just, I think, maybe because of the physical proximity too, and because it's not a gigantic label, it's very personable. I have relationships with people there. Like I can call them up and talk to them, and I'm not, intimidated, and it's been really good. So. And
they actually, cross-pollination might be the wrong word, but they use a lot of their people on each other's acts too. I mean, I know Carly just played on some of Aaron's stuff. Carly Arrowwood's another friend of mine, and so I noticed there's some of that going on. So
it's a little bit like a family kind of. So because I think most of the artists are based around this area, or I guess some of them are in Nashville.
Most of them are here though, or in the area. So. So do you have a favorite song of yours?
I don't know,
Okay, let's back up. Do you have a favorite record of yours?
Well, that's a tough question too. I mean, I think, I love all of our albums for various reasons. There, sort of the landmark ones for me are like, the first one, obviously Irene, that was a big deal to make an album and have it be out there in the world. So that'll always be a special one for me. And then Me Oh My, just because there was so much sort of change and turmoil going into it, and then during the making of it, in a way that's sort of my independence record. And then again, I think with the self-titled one, which was, I guess, the 5th album, so we're kind of skipping over, not that I have anything against 2 and 4, but that was like a little bit of a, using my name for the first time.
Right,
and, sort of just feeling, I don't know.
Well, I did like it actually when, I mean, I always thought that was the case anyway, but I liked it when they went ahead, or you guys decided to put you out there.
Yeah, we had talked with Irene even. We had talked about it. We were kind of like, so were we going to be the Honeycutters, or were we going to be Amanda Ann Platt on the Honeycutters? And I don't, I've just always had, I think maybe like, watching my brother play in bands growing up, like, they always had a band name. They were a group, there was no like person. I mean, there was a singer or whatever. But it always felt more, I don't know. I never wanted to stand alone. I wanted to be part of the group.
Well, in this case, though, I'm getting ready to say something wrong here. It's a great band, but it would be an entirely different band without you as the focus of the.
Well, sure.
You know?
I mean, I think, and we came to that, just like, well, because I've always written all the songs and been the front woman, it wouldn't. And at that point, like the personnel had changed.
Oh, and that's another
entirely.
thing too. That's another thing too. You can change the personnel, but if you take you out, then it's just almost a dead deal,
Right, and so that was kind of why, it was like, okay, maybe it's time to just sort of shift the focus a little bit so that, people aren't, if somebody's not here. I mean, not that, we've been, since then we've had the same guys and certainly, don't intend on changing that anytime soon as long as they're all happy.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It kind of just, it shifts the focus. So it's not, if somebody's not there, it's not like, oh, why is, what's going on? Like the band's not the same.
Sure. How did you feel when you actually, realized that was it? My name's out front. I mean, is it a heavier weight?
In some ways, but then in some ways too, it was like, well, now I'm only representing myself, kind of,
Oh, yeah, okay,
So
yeah, I can see that too.
It got a little easier.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. I thought, oh, now I've put all this pressure on me, but no, that's good because it is. I mean, then it becomes you, and that's good. I thought that was a really good move when you did that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it felt right. I think it was a little weird for me at first, but I'm glad that we did it now. And two, I have to say, it's a lot easier to just, if I don't have to explain myself or identify myself. If somebody likes the band, they know who I am.
Right.
I'm not the chick from the Honeycutters.
Yeah, exactly. Which I run into a lot. Okay, when a band kind of makes a name, but there's a member that I'm really interested in, that's a little awkward. I mean, a lot like if you had still been the Honeycutters and it's like, well, I really want to talk to Amanda Ann. I mean, I know 100 guitar players, bass players, I mean, it's a little easier for you to do things too. I mean, you can actually go and do something on your own. If it's, let's just use WNCW. Technically, you could run down there with one member or something to do something somewhere,
Yeah, and I do sometimes, and I do solo stuff, and people actually come to it, and
yeah.
I mean, sometimes.
I mean, it does open up stuff like that when you're on your own like that.
Yeah, it does.
Because people always want this guy to play with Kevin, but they have to take the whole band. So, but we give him kind of a hard time because his email is Ego Show. And we gave that name to him, and he's good natured about stuff. So,
he's embraced it.
yeah, because it's true. No, I mean, but he's an excellent songwriter and singer. So anything that good comes from it for him just tickles me to death. So,
yeah.
So are you writing now? Have you wrote during the pandemic?
A little bit. It's been harder, since having my daughter. It's been
I'm sure it is
a different game.
Yeah.
I used to have oodles of time to write, and now it's a lot of my headspace gets taken up, by parenting, obviously. But yeah, I've written. I used to write. I figured this out once I sat down and looked at it. I used to write about 22 songs a year,
right.
And last year I wrote 5 songs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, well, 5 songs is fine. If I write 5 songs a year, I think that's enough to keep my brain going. I kind of have a backlog from all those years I was writing 22 or plus songs a year and, not putting an album a year out. So there's enough songs for me to make a few more albums anyway. So it's not like I'm trying to like fill out an album.
It's not like you have to dig out to get an album. It's like, oh, I got to come up with 3 songs.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So I think this year I've written 1 song so far, and I'm kind of feeling, I'm like, I really got to sit down and just, I think it's just, I've come to a point in my life where I really need to be disciplined about it in a way that I never used to have to be. And so I'm kind of playing with that.
Yeah, I think you do at a certain stage. I mean, for so long, for a long time when you first start doing it flows just almost magically. But at some point, even though it's good work, it does take on an element of work. But I've been writing songs a long time, and sometimes now I have to work at it harder, and I don't even know why I write them anymore, other than I just love to do it.
Reason enough.
Yeah, reason enough. But a lot of people I've talked to during the pandemic all thought they would write a whole lot being home, but most of them didn't. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, again, the child technicality, but I feel like it's certainly something that's true for me, and I feel like maybe this is true for a lot of creative people in any medium. There's almost like, when there's so much going on, there's like so much emotion and just so much to process. I don't actually write very well when I'm like stirred up. Like if I'm feeling angry or sad or worried, that's not usually, it's more retrospective.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I process things after the fact. So I feel like that's sort of one thing that maybe has slowed me down a little bit, is there's just been so much to feel, and I'm
Right.
I haven't really gotten to sit down and take a look at it yet.
Well, I think in my case, I have to live life a little while before, and then kind of write about what's going on, as opposed to, if everything is great, this is terrible. If everything is great and I'm happy and there's not much going on in life, I don't really have a lot to write about.
A buddy of mine, Kevin Smith, who's a great songwriter, he has a song kind of specifically about that. I think it's called Happy Song. I wish I could write a happy song. Like that. Oh, yeah. But that's the idea. It's hard to be inspired by all the good times sometimes.
It really is. Well, you could do it, but then you would be one of 6 writers who are writing for a bro country dude in Nashville.
Right.
We're going to get together.
Nice work if you can get it, though, right?
Oh, it is. It is. I have a friend, Karen Kane, and Karen quits songwriting for a while till he gets broke. Then he goes back to doing it just to, because he can sit there with 6 guys and write trash, and somebody will record it. So
yeah. Well, it's not that I haven't thought about it. If somebody would hire me to do that, I would give it my best try.
Well, yeah, and I've done it, and the whole deal is to get your 3 or 4 a week, so that they'll let you continue doing it.
Wow, that's pressure.
Kind of it is, but the more co-writers you have, the easier it is to.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, you got an idea, and some of the more young gung-ho people will write most of it, and then you'll still get credit for it.
What do they say? A word's a third.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've always known that in Nashville it works like this. I wrote this song, but I'm willing to let you change a thee to a the, or maybe a couple of words, because Brad Paisley. You know his man, that you can get this song to him. So, a half or a third of something is better than all of nothing. So
yeah,
so.
Absolutely true. I think too, like as I am getting older and just, the reality of sort of touring and the way the music business is changing, it does become more appealing. It's like, well, if I could just because I used to be very, well, the reason, and this is still true, the reason I write, and I feel like you've said this too, it's like the reason I write is just because it brings me joy, and I need to. There's some part of me that just needs to do it. But, there's also the part of me now that's like, well, and if I could really monetize it a little more, that would be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for it. I've known writers that no one even knows who have had dozens of hit songs. Big. It's
right.
Great. It's great work if you can get it. I mean.
Yeah.
So, or then you can be like Billy Joe Shaver and just force people to do it. Here, I got this song, and you're going to record it, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, God, Billy Joe, what a trip.
Oh, man, what a trip. Earlier today, I was sitting around playing guitar, doing Rusty Old Truck. I think that's funny that you say that.
Oh, Yeah. He was salt of the earth.
Yeah, he was, no doubt. But, it's, so what's next for you? What are you doing? I mean, just waiting to get back out on the road?
Kind of, yeah. So we started this sort of juggernaut of a project. We started recording from home last spring, which we hadn't really done before. My husband, has some experience with recording and had some gear to do it, and so we kind of started. It had been a while since we had put out a studio album,
right?
So, we with the mindset of like, these are unprecedented times, and I really wanted to put out something very intimate and sort of raw, and and doing it kind of from home just felt it felt like the right thing to do, and obviously was more practical with the pandemic.
Yeah, true. This is true.
And so from that kind of morphed, I had this idea for a really long time to make a double album called The Devil and the Deep Blue Sea, and have, the devil side of the album be like the more up-tempo,
right,
sort of, ear-grabbing full band arrangements, and then have the Deep Blue Sea be some of my more like contemplative,
sure,
reclusive songs. And
it's a great idea.
Well, thanks. So those two ideas kind of started getting mushed together, and eventually it got to the point, like in the fall, where it was just like it was kind of just a giant project that we weren't. I mean, we're at home. Well, my husband's working all the time, and I'm home with the kid, and we could only record at night. And it was just, it just wasn't really happening. So I was like, okay, we need to set a schedule. And so I called Organic up, and I was like, give us a deadline. And so we started talking about sort of more the parameters of the project, and that's when it really started to take shape. So basically, I already said a little bit, but we're doing. We started in April. Actually, we just released the first ones earlier this month. So for the rest of the year, we'll be releasing, basically like a 45, like, an A and a B side each month, one from the Devil, one from the Deep Blue Sea. And so we're kind of, we will be starting to play shows in the summer, and I think we have some tours planned for the fall, but we're also kind of in this ongoing record release process.
Well, let's go ahead and plug that while you're here. Tell them what formats they can get it on. I'm sure, all your stuff, your webpage, anything that sits you out there for these people to hear your work.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was the best person to ask, because I don't do a lot of the streaming stuff, but I'm sure you can find it on Spotify.
Yeah. Okay. It is on Spotify, and I guess you have a page that lets people know when the stuff is being released, or some media.
Yeah, we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and we do have a webpage, honeycutters.com, or I guess Amanda Ann Platt and the honeycutters.com, but I think the honeycutters.com will get you there too. And so I think, and it's on Apple Music and So the whole, and there will eventually be actually a physical, because this is a big thing with me. I'm somebody who's still really into there being like a physical product.
Sure.
I'm not really.
I think most musicians are. I mean, okay, I'm okay releasing one, but at some point, I want the whole record.
Yeah. You want, I like things to have
project.
a home.
Yeah, I
right.
agree.
And artwork, and
sure.
and like I like liner notes.
Notes, yeah.
So that'll be out. There's a little bit of discussion of when the whole thing will actually be available for purchase, but all of the songs will be released as of early December, and then there will either maybe slightly before then or after then there will be a physical product that one can hold in one's hand.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, people still like that. And artists really like that. Although, this is I don't. After I finish a project, I can't really listen to it anymore, other than play it live. They sit around in cellophane still in the house. It's like, I don't think I want to hear this. How do you feel when you hear your stuff on the radio?
Oh, I don't really.
Really?
I probably count on one hand the time. People always tell me, "Oh, I heard you on WNCW," and I know, we love WNCW, and they've given us a lot of love over the years. But I've really not heard us on there very much.
Well, that's every once in a while somebody will call and say, "Hey, man, I heard one of your songs, or I heard you on the radio," and it's like, really, I'm always surprised.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. Certainly.
And the 18-cent royalty check is just wonderful.
There is, I can't remember. I get royalties from like a few different, there's all the different collections, whatever. Right. But there's one company that I get checks from them very regularly, and they're for like 7 cents.
I know, I do too.
And I can never figure out. I'm like, just hold it. And when I make $5,
exactly,
send me a check.
I'm thinking, how can you afford to send this out at right? Like that?
Probably costs more than the mailing and all that.
Probably. However, they're making enough off of it, I guess, to pay you what. I have actually saw a streaming $1 million royalty check, or 1 million sales royalty check. It's pitiful.
Oh, man. I was going to say, my eyes are getting wide over here.
No, don't let them get wide, because you're looking at like $400.
Yeah.
But there's this guy who did the podcast, but he used to work at Auto Bell, and he was detailing Toy Caldwell's Marshall Tucker band's car one time, and pulled out a royalty check stub for one of his quarters, and it's $425,000 for a quarter.
Wow. That is, man, that's the dream, right?
That's the dream. That's the dream. He said, I remember, he couldn't believe it. He said, I couldn't believe that, So.
Did you ever watch that show Nashville?
Yeah.
It might still be on, but I remember just the sort of the kids who, whatever, I can't remember any of their names, but there's a couple, like a young couple, not sort of the main people, but kind of like a side story, and it's just like everything just kind of falls into their lap.
Oh, yeah.
The guy gets a $400,000 royalty check.
Right.
I was just like, I remember just watching that episode and being like, you know what? Screw you.
I mean, those days don't exist anymore, I do not believe.
I guess not, yeah.
I don't know. Rappers seem to do pretty well, but,
Yeah, well, I think there's some genres that sort of like play to, and just pop in general.
Yeah,
I think more of the pop genres play to the format better, you know?
I think they do, really.
And the big record labels have still sort of figured out how to work with the streaming thing, and it's just
and I think a lot of that is, the company just wants them on the label. I don't know. Their royalty checks probably aren't as big as what they should be
Yeah.
with comparable sales to say 20 years ago, but still.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money in the music business that just doesn't go to the artist.
Right. Right. Well, yeah.
So
It's it never used to bother me because, it's just like, any money I made doing it, I was kind of just like, well, this is incredible. I'm getting paid to do what I love.
Yeah,
and,
I agree totally.
To some extent, I still feel that way. But then it also does, when you kind of, you see the people who are getting money from it, and you're kind of like, well, how is this working?
Well, how come I don't get just a little bit more of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is all that money going to?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, it's a good thing we have T-shirts and CDs and stuff to sell at shows. So.
And there's so many people out there that that do go to shows, buy tickets, buy T-shirts, buy CDs still, and support independent artists or smaller artists, and it's they keep us all going.
They really do, and that's basically, I mean, you make the music for yourself, but you also like to have fans.
Right. As I always say, we'd be doing it anyway, but it's a lot more fun with you here.
Yeah, and that's the truth. I mean, and like I tell people, wait, you want how much to play? I said, well, I'm playing for free when I'm charging you for sitting up and tearing down,
Right, yeah.
No, I'll do this for free, but not with the equipment, So
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I like the there was something, it was probably like a meme or whatever on Facebook, but it was, somebody put it up and it was like, call 5 plumbers to come to your house for 4 hours and see what they're going to charge you.
Exactly. And my favorite, I think I've heard is musicians are the only people who will put $10,000 worth of equipment in a $500 car, drive 5 hours, play 4 hours, and make $100.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. It's a very strange industry.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, and you would think too, like in other industries, after you've been there a while, the rate keeps going up and up. Not so with the musician. I at this point I'm a PhD, but I'm still being paid an undergraduate salary. So
right. Oh man. Well, now it's just getting depressing.
It is. Let's change the subject. You've actually been a very fun guest. I'm glad.
I've been having a great time.
I hope I get to come out and, because seemingly I'm not working these days, and see you guys live soon. Are you going to Skunk? Are you going to be at Skunk Fest?
We are going to be at Skunk Fest. Yeah, come say hi if you're there. We're playing Friday, I think. Friday.
Okay. I know. I've got some buddies playing, so that is a possibility.
Yeah, and anytime we're not doing much either, but anytime you see that we're in the area, feel free to reach out.
All right, yeah, that'll be good. It's a good area. Asheville has a lot of good musicians. I'm actually working on kind of a Asheville group. I'm finishing up a upstate South Carolina one, and you're part of the Asheville group that I'm getting ready to do. So.
Oh, cool. It is a great area. Yeah, that's why I moved here. I had heard, I'd never been here, didn't know much about the town itself. I didn't even know it was in the mountains, honestly, but somebody just told me it's a good town for music, and
it is.
So I came.
I live, actually, Shelby is a very good town for music. Per capita, I will tell you that there's as many good musicians here as anywhere. Of course, Earl Scruggs is from here. Don Gibson is from here.
Of course. Yeah, we drive through Shelby.
Sure.
We've not done much there, I don't think, but
Patty Lovelace,
right,
was from. We've had a lot of successful people, and probably the rest of the people that are here is every bit as talented. Maybe not as successful, but it's a good place musically to live. So,
yeah.
So
and a pretty place too.
It is. It is for a small town. It's
yeah,
pretty good. Yeah.
I like the. It's Piedmont, right?
Yeah, it's in the Piedmont.
So you're in the, yeah, I like the Piedmont.
The Piedmont, yeah. It's we're far enough from Charlotte to be good. Close enough to Asheville to be good.
Yeah.
So it's a good area, and you can access 40 and 85, and if you need to
right
travel pretty easily. So it's a good area. Asheville's better. I mean, Asheville is actually a wonderful music place.
It is. The thing about Asheville, and I'm sure people say this about, anywhere where that is a desirable place to live. And I can't, I moved here in 2007, so I can't claim, I'm not a native, but, it's grown so much. I mean, when I moved here in 2007, it was a very easy place to live.
Oh, yes.
There was
not
no
as
traffic.
Easy. True.
It's not. It was super cheap. It was definitely a small pond. It was easy to feel like kind of a big fish in a small pond. And
right.
It's really turned into a city. I mean, it's just exploded.
It has.
Which is, great for some people and, kind of harder on other people.
Sure. I mean, it has changed greatly over the years. It's been one of the places where musicians could actually go and busk and make a little bit of money over the past, years. But I don't even think they can do that as much these days.
Yeah, I haven't been downtown much, but yeah, man, when I first moved here, we used to busk all the time.
Yeah.
We had our favorite spots. We'd be out by the Flatiron. And
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I've done it. It's a that's a wonderful thing to have in a community too that so many don't have.
Yeah.
So yeah, Asheville's different. A lot of good musicians though.
More coming every day.
True. In fact, I did Songs from the Road band guys, and they have a brand new banjo player who moved to the area he went to the East Tennessee State Bluegrass program, and he's just one incredible banjo player.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've just sort of, I used to hang out in bars a lot more. I used to go to all the jams,
Sure.
and I've sort of stepped away from that a little bit. My brother, he moved here about, I don't know, five years ago maybe, and he's a great bluegrass. Well, he's a great bass player. He's not bluegrass trained, but he's been playing mostly bluegrass since he moved here, and also a great guitar player. And but he's really, he's much more into the bluegrass scene here than I am. And I mean, yeah, there's just so many people here that I feel like I used to know everybody, and now, now
I know.
everyone's throwing names around. And I'm like, I don't know that person.
Yeah, I kind of used to think I did too, and now it's like, I don't believe I know this guy.
Yeah, I guess that's just the way it goes.
I guess it is. I guess that's a good thing. Music needs to keep evolving.
Absolutely.
But
you need
really
fresh blood.
Well, and you're really one of the fresh breaths from Western North Carolina.
Thank you.
You've kind of got your own little niche, which I think is really cooler than falling in. You don't have to have the whole Nashville hookup. Which
sometimes I wish I did, but
yeah, I know you do. I mean, the money difference is great, but the coolness is not there really. So
well, the grass is always green, and I do. I mean, for all I've thought about moving to Nashville, there's been certainly many nights I've laid awake and thought of all the things I could do to try to be more successful. But it comes down to it. This is my home now, and I love it, and I do have a community here, and I am inspired by the people that I know here, and just I love what I love about Asheville, and this may be changing a little bit, but it's not an industry town.
No, it's not.
So like I feel like there are so many people who move here to play music and to be part of the musical community, but it's a different feeling. It's not, people aren't necessarily looking to get a record deal or a publishing contract. They're just here because they just want to be in it.
It's a cool scene with a lot of good music, and there's a lot of speaking about it not being an industry town. There's also a lot of local owned stuff.
Yeah.
which builds a community too. I mean, there's still plenty of industry, but there's a lot of local involvement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place. It is a great place, and it's, and I think, I'm somebody, I hate change. I'm just like, I'm the curmudgeon. I'm like, they put up another hotel over here.
Right. Oh yeah.
but it is in a lot of my friends are, gigging musicians, and there's more jobs now. The more breweries open, the more tourists there are. So
breweries
you
have
gotta
been a
kind of look
godsend.
at the silver lining.
Breweries are the greatest thing that happened to independent type musicians. You can
might be.
You can go play. You can be home at a reasonable time. It's not like the bars that you used to play in that. Right. Sometimes you wondered if you were going to get out alive. I mean, those have been great. You get someplace, the breweries there have some pretty good shows actually, and they're fun. So
yeah,
it's still a good place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do appreciate you. I know that you're busy, but I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you had me on. This is really, my day was really going in a different direction until we had this conversation. I'm feeling a lot more upbeat now.
Well, maybe we've laughed enough about it to, I'm a fan of laughter, hugs and laughter. I love it. So, but again, thank you for doing this, and it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me on, Sandy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I hope we'll talk again soon.
Me too.
Sit on the back porch and stare at the sky, watching the sun kiss the mountains goodnight. The dog kills a rabbit, it's only a baby. Cry like a child, 'cause you couldn't save it. Take you. You start a small fire from junk mail you saved, and the clouds start to gather. Flames fight the rain. The sky grows darker. You say, please don't go home. Rinsing the bottles out in the sink. The water is warm. Can't help but think that it's easy. It can be easy. Now you painted so easy. Stare at the sky, watching for airplanes as 10 years go by. The dog kills a rabbit, you heard it screaming. Still there's some part of you